This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
To find out how you can help kickstart our latest show live from Base 6, visit our website and click on the Kickstarter icon. Hi, I'm Cindy Harris, and in this episode I'm going to show you a great recipe for Colcannon. Now, Colcannon is a mixture of potato and either green cabbage or kale, and boy, at this time of year those are things you can always find at the farmer's market. Well, we're going to first start our Colcannon by getting about 1.5 pounds of potatoes. Now, at the farmer's market today, they had these great little Yukon Gold potatoes, so that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to go ahead and just cut those in quarters, and I'm going to put them in this pot of water, and I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit of salt to this because I like to give the potatoes a little bit of flavor while they're cooking. Now, I'm not going to bother to peel these potatoes, but if you were using russets, you might want to. For this dish, you could even use little baby red potatoes. It's pretty much whatever you find there at the farmer's market. But do cut them in quarters or some sort of small piece. That way they'll cook up pretty quickly. Now, I've got all my potatoes in the salted water. Now I'm going to go ahead and put these on a high heat and bring them to a boil. And then they should take between 7 and 10 minutes to cook, but you want the potatoes to be nice and tender. So one of the great things about Colcannon is you can either add kale or green cabbage to the potatoes, and right now both are in season. My guys really like kale, so what you're going to do is get some nice fresh kale from the farmer's market, wash it up real well, and then I like to go ahead and cut it. Just run my blade through it just like this. Now on kale, you end up having these kind of woody stems, which for this dish we don't want to use. So I'm just going to go ahead, cut my kale up in these little pieces, and I want to end up getting about 4 cups of kale. Now if you're going to use green cabbage, same thing. Go ahead and chop it up. Now you'll notice that while I'm measuring out my kale, I'm mashing it down into my cup. And the reason I'm doing that is because whenever you cook greens, they really shrink down a lot. So what I try to do is get a fairly accurate measure, and that's by mashing them down like that. I can see that even though these will compact, I'll still have a nice amount of kale in my Colcannon. So that's just about 4 cups. And now the next thing I'm going to get ready for our Colcannon is I've got 2 green onions from the farmer's market, and they just look beautiful today. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slice those up into some fairly thin slices. So I've been cooking my potatoes for about 10 minutes. And I'm going to go ahead and test them. Now I just take a fork and I press that into the potato, and if it goes in nice and easy, then I know that's fork tender, and that's what I want to do. Now normally I would take this whole pot over to the sink and dump it into the colander, but I actually am going to blanch my kale in this water because it's already nice and hot. So I'm just going to pull these potatoes out with my little strainer here and put them in the colander. Then I'm going to go ahead, my water is still boiling, I'm going to take my kale and I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to let this cook just for about 3 minutes till the kale gets partially cooked. Now my kale is nice and parboiled here, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to take it and put it right back in my cup here, because I'm actually going to put the rest of this dish together in this pan. So once I get the kale out, I can go ahead and dump this water out in the sink. So here I am with my empty pan. I'm going to go ahead and put it back on the heat, turned it up to about medium high, and I'm going to go ahead and get about 4 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to put this in the pan and get it nice and melted. Now once the butter's melted, I'm going to go ahead and put in my sliced green onions, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the kale back in as well. And I'm going to saute these two things up, for just a couple of minutes. So I've got my kale and my onions nicely cooked. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my potatoes back in. And I've also got about 1/2 cup of milk. And I'm going to start by putting about half of that in. And I've got my potato masher, and I'm going to go ahead and start mashing that kale and those potatoes together. Now I've mashed this up a little bit. I can see I can use the rest of my milk, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in. And I just want to continue to mash this until the potatoes and the kale are nicely combined. Now to this, I'm going to add a little bit more salt to taste, and then some black pepper. And you can see when you mix this up, this is a really nice, hearty dish. Now you can serve it vegetarian like this, or if you wanted to add a banger to it, which is a sausage, you could do that, or any kind of other meat. It would be fantastic. Now to serve Colcannon, what you do is you dish it out into a nice big mound like this, and then you make a little well in the center, and then you take a nice pat of butter, about a tablespoon or so, and you put that right in the center, and that just continues to melt. Well, you can see Colcannon is a great dish to make with some of those winter vegetables that we find at the farmer's market. Tonight, I'm going to serve it with some chicken sausages that I've cooked up. Well, if you'd like to try it at home, just go to our website, go to the Farmer's Market Gourmet, and I'll have the recipe there for you. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email. I'll see you next time.